Okay, so we start with a magic circle. The tail of our yarn is pointing down. You make an X. Your hook goes under the top and over the second one, and you pull through and you turn your hook up. And then you chain 1. Then from here, you are going to do 6 single crochets in the big circle. So you insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. That's your first single crochet, and so you don't lose it and you know where to come back to. You slide a stitch marker through, and then you do 5 more. So you'll have a total of 6 single crochets. Okay. Then, once we have 6 single crochets, we're going to take our tail and we're going to pull this circle closed. Now, we're going to work in what's called continuous rounds, which means we're not going to like join and chain up and start a next row. This is going to be like a spiral. So, what we're going to do from here on out, let me bring you a second stitch marker. At the end of each row, we're going to mark the last stitch that we made. So here, we're going to mark this last stitch we just made. And again, just think of your stitch marker like as your crochet hook. And if you were to work into this stitch, you would insert your stitch, or you'd insert your crochet hook straight through. So you do the same thing with your stitch marker. Okay. So, to start what is technically the second row, even though we're working in a spiral, find where that first stitch was. That's where you're going to insert your hook. You can insert your hook while your stitch marker is still in there, or you can take it out. Just make sure if you take it out, you don't lose your stitch once you've taken your stitch marker out. So we're going to insert our hook where that first stitch marker was. And this starts our second round, and we're going to do 2 single crochets in each stitch that we already made. So that's called doing 6 increases is what we're going to do. So if you want to like visualize it, we just did We just did 6 single crochets. Now we're going to do an increase in each one, which means we're going to do 2 stitches in this one, 2 in this one, 2 in this one, 2 in that one, 2 in that one, and 2 in that one, which is going to give us a total of 12 stitches when we're done with this row, okay? So you're going to do 2 single crochets in each one of these stitches. So we've already inserted our hook. So now we just yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. That's our first single crochet in this stitch. Now we're going to do a second single crochet in this stitch. Then we move on to the next stitch.
Do you have scissors?
Yep. Just a second. Okay, when you get to that stitch marker, you should have 10 stitches so far.
Can I just give her my napkin?
Yeah. Where the stitch marker is, that was the last stitch of your previous round. You're going to take that out and you're going to do 2 more single crochets in there. And then when you finish that last single crochet, you're going to put your stitch marker in, because now that's the last stitch of this round. And when you count them, there should be 12 stitches. Okay, so you should have a total of 12 stitches so far. I'm going to draw a line here just so you can see, like, this is where we start the round and this is where we end the round. We work around counterclockwise. So next, we're going to do a single crochet in the first stitch and then an increase in the second stitch. Then single, then increase, then single, then increase. I'll show you in a second, but just to give you an idea, it's every other one. So if you're counting your stitches, it's like 1, and then in the next stitch you do 2, 3, and then you do 4, and in the next stitch you do 5, 6, all the way around. And when you're done, in that very last stitch, once you take your stitch marker out and you put your 2 single crochets in, you'll end up having 18 this time around. Okay, so we're gonna go in the first, or in the next stitch, you do 1 single crochet, and then in the stitch after that you do 2 single crochets. So I always count it as 1, 2, 3, and then I go to the next one. I do 1 single crochet, and then in the following stitch I do 2 single crochets. You just repeat that the whole way around. 1 single crochet in the first stitch and then 2 single crochets in the next stitch. When you get around to your stitch marker, you'll do 1 single crochet in the stitch before the stitch marker, and then you take the stitch marker out and you do 2 single crochets. And then in that last single crochet you just made, put your stitch marker back in, and then count. You should have 18. Okay, so think about your math facts. We started with 6, then we ended with 12, then we ended with 18. So how many should we have in the next row? 6 times the first row is 6, 6 times the second row is 12, 6 times the third row is 18, so 6 times the fourth row would be 24. We're gonna have 24 next time. Here's how we get that. We do 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, and then 2 single crochets. So it's single crochet, increase. Single, single, increase. Single, single, increase. The whole way around until you end up with 24 stitches. So I always count it as 1, 2, and then 3, 4 go in the next one. So 1 in the first one, 1 single crochet in the second one, and then 2 in the one after that. So I always count it 1, 2, and then 3, 4 go in the following stitch. So you'll have 1, 2, and then your last 3, 4 will go where your stitch marker was. And then put your stitch marker back in that last stitch so you know where the end of your row is. You should have 24. Okay, let's try this again. Our math facts. We had 6, 12, 18, 24, so next time we're gonna have 30. Okay, so whatever number you started with, which we started with 6, you're working in those multiples from that point on. So these are all gonna be multiples of 6. So this is our 5th row, so it's going to be single, 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 and then increase. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 go in the same stitch. So 1, 2, 3, and then 4 and 5 are in the same stitch together. And you'll have 30 whenever you get around to the beginning again. So that's 1, 2, 3, and then in the next one is 4 and 5. And you're going to repeat that the whole way around, and the 4 and 5 will go where your stitch marker is, and that'll give you a total of 30. And remember to put your stitch marker in the last stitch of that row. So, if you wanted your snowman to be bigger than this, you would keep on doing this. So you'd go like 36, 42, 48, 54, 60. Like you just keep making it bigger in this same pattern, where whatever row you're on, when you're counting it, that's what gets your double. So like the first row was all ones. The second row we had 1, 2 in each one. The third row was 1, 2, 3. The fourth row was 1, 2, 3, 4. This was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the fifth row. So we just continue doing that in the same fashion that we've been doing it if you wanted to make it bigger. Also, again, we started a hat once. This is how you make a hat. You would do this same thing. You could, instead of doing single crochets, you could do half double crochets or double crochets, so your circle would get bigger faster. But it's the same idea. Whenever it's time, like right now, we're gonna start building the height of our snowman. So far, we've made this part of our snowman. Now we're gonna start working up on our snowman, which means from now on, each one of these rows is gonna have 30. We're just gonna do singles straight the whole way around. Hold on, I've got a line at my desk. What's up, guys?
I just wanted to put this.
Thank you.
May I go to my walk?
Yeah, go ahead. So, the way to get this like sphere shape is, and I didn't know this, I had to look it up online because you could just play around with it, but it said however many rows you've done so far, do that many plus 1 straight around. So we've done 5 rows, so 5 plus 1 is 6, so we're going to do 6 rows of 30. So, and that's why you guys still have 2 stitch markers, right? So don't take this one out when you come around to the end of this row this time. We're going to leave this one in. So go ahead and start. All we're going to do is just single crochets, 1 in each stitch the whole way around, so that when we end this round, we're still going to have 30. I'm actually going to put one of the locking ones on because I'm going to leave this one on. So, but in that round, or in that stitch, where the stitch marker is, I'm going to go ahead and put my crochet hook in there also with it and do the 30th stitch. Okay, so I left it in. This is because if you would lose count of how many rounds you've made from here, since we're making 6 rounds of 30, that way you can count that, like you can see this is where I started and count up from there. Also, if I were you, I would keep like tally marks, like, okay, I just completed row 1. You need to complete 6. Now, you still want to mark the last stitch you just did, so you'll keep moving a stitch marker up with you. So I'm gonna put a stitch marker in there because I still need to know where the end of my row is, so when I keep doing these rows of 30, I know where to finish my round. And then go ahead and start on your next one, and you'll see it's gonna start like curving in on you. So if yours is like mine, it's gonna start like looking like a bowl. Is yours looking like a bowl? A little bit. Here's the thing, I don't know why it happens this way, but it's actually curving in backwards right now. So the side that's facing you is called the right side, or like like as in correct, the correct side. So after we do a couple rounds of this, you're actually going to flip it inside out. Or I should say, we're going to flip it right side out, I guess. Okay, so that's stitch 29. I'm going to take my stitch marker out, put in my 30th stitch, and put my stitch marker back in. And that was my second round of 30. Okay, so your like unofficial homework, like I'd really like you to finish these 6 rounds of 30 so that we can start decreasing next week, okay? Because we only have, I think we only have next week left of crochet. It ends.
Can we get back in?
I don't know that there will be room in the schedule to offer crochet next semester. So, I need you to get through to here on your snowman done. And then we'll start decreasing, and then you only have like 2 rows, maybe, or 2 or 3 rows of decreasing, and then we start increasing again, but we don't get as big. And then we decrease again. So I think we're in good shape to finish it next week, okay? And I'll bring like the felt in that we can glue on him and make him a cute little snowman. All right? So if you need to keep your crochet here because you don't want to lose it, go ahead. If not, keep it in your locker. But that's all I have for you today. So hopefully get that done for next week. Okay, so I wanted to take a second. We talked about the fact that this is going to kind of collapse in on itself and make a bowl, and the side that's facing you when you're working is the right side, or the correct side, and this is the wrong side right now. So what you're going to do eventually is just flip it right side out like this, and you'll still continue working around in a circle, but now instead of working sort of like around on the inside of the circle, you're going to be working around on the outside of the circle. So you can wait however long you want to do that, if it's more comfortable for you to work on the inside than the outside. But that is how you do that. And when I did it, my stitch marker fell out. Okay, so there was my 30th stitch. So that's 1, and I'm going to keep going. And I am just about out of yarn here. When I made my first snowman, I used a much smaller yarn, and then I waited to see how much we needed. And of course we need more because we're using a larger yarn. So I'm going to make new balls of yarn, or ball up more yarn for you all, but I also want to show you how to change your yarn and add on new, so that you can do that on your own whenever you're ready. Alright, when we get to about this point, you want to have enough that you could sew in your end if you wanted to. We're actually, because this is a little amigurumi snowman and we're never going to see the end, we're just going to knot it off when we're done. But this is how you change your yarn. So you're going to insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, and before you yarn over the next time, you get your new ball of yarn. And you, instead of yarning over with that tail, or the working yarn that you were using, you take your new yarn and you just lay your new yarn on top of your hook with the tail facing down, and you pull that through. Now it'll be a little bit loose at first. What you'll need to do is take your old working yarn and your new tail and just kind of hold them together for a couple stitches. And if you want, you can crochet around them, and that'll sew them in a little bit. Or if not, you can just let them hang out in the back there and continue crocheting. And then typically you would take these two ends that we have and you would weave one in one direction and one in the other direction and be done with it. But since we're going to be stuffing this and you're never going to see it, even though it's kind of frowned upon in the crochet world, we are just going to tie a little knot here, and that will keep that from ever being a problem for us, and then continue on. The other thing I want to show you is how to count your rows, so that if you would forget which row you were on, you can go back and double check. So, when you count your rows, you always want to count after you've ended a row, and you want to go from where you just ended your row and go straight down to the center of where you started. So you look for the center row, which is like a little circle, and there's a dot in the middle of it. This side of it, that is one row. So each one of these like little waves or little bumps, or it's almost like one of those coil baskets. The coils are different rows. So this is 1, then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I've done 11 rows. And if you remember, we said we did 6 rows for our center, and then we were going to do 6 plus 1 for the height, which means we're going to end up having a total of 13 rows before we start decreasing. So I just finished 11. Let me show you that again. So here's that center. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. You don't count this, the top, you don't count the top of your stitches here. So since you couldn't see that, one last time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Okay. So go ahead, just try to make sure you have all 13 rows done, or however many rows you're going to do for next week, and then we'll go from there.